How's it going, you guys? So in this video, I'm going to be sharing some strategies that I've used previously, and I use anytime that I start to find myself in a sort of depressive rut type of thing. So it's actually pretty normal for all humans to experience bouts of depression, bouts of anxiety, and things like that. Typically, people don't have prolonged periods with depression and anxiety unless they start to identify with their depression or anxiety due to a lack of awareness on what's actually causing it, leading to the problem going unresolved for a long period of time, and then society's normalization of all problems we face as diseases that need to be treated with drugs and blaming it on genes, which have not really fully been identified with solid evidence. And so a cycle of pain goes over and over again, repeats itself. But depression is normal. And here is what I have found to be the most effective thing for me anytime I start to find myself in a cycle of depression. And if I continue to neglect these areas, then I will feel depressed for much longer and to a greater degree. And the longer that I leave these problems, these areas I'm about to go down unresolved, the worse and worse the depression seems to get. So, and first and foremost, if you truly believe you have a biochemical, so-called genetic predisposition to depression, then understand that the only factor involved in creating genetic abnormalities is actually nutrition, specifically certain deficiencies in genes that involve methylation. This has been proven with rat studies as well as pioneers in research like Weston Price, who've studied generations of people and things that happen when you go from consuming nutrient-dense whole foods diets to consuming refined food diets over time. Everything from your facial structure to your dental health to your predisposition to diabetes and obesity and heart disease. All these things we blame on genetics. These genetic degradations, genetic polymorphisms and things are created from poor nutrition in the parents, even as late as like 5 years leading up to pregnancy. So anyway, overcoming depression. Here are some things that's helped me. So first of all, waking up at the same time every single day. Over time, if you make it a point to set your alarm for 8 a.m. or whatever time, and you wake up at that time every single day after a period of 4 days to 2 weeks, over time your sleep schedule will naturally regulate and you'll naturally feel sleepy about 8 hours before the time that you want to wake up. And so just making it a habit to wake up at the same time every day is the easiest and most effective way to reset your sleep schedule completely. Because what happens if you're used to, waking up at 12 noon every day, and then you suddenly switch to 8 a.m.? Well, you're going to be tired as fuck for the first, maybe second, maybe 3 days. And then eventually, because you're going to be so tired from waking up early all of a sudden, that you're going to naturally want to go to sleep earlier, right? Well, as long as you force yourself to not go to sleep before a good bedtime, and you force yourself to fall asleep about 10 hours before 8 a.m. or whatever new time you want to reset your sleep schedule to, now you're going to naturally start to fall asleep at that time. So waking up at the same time every day, that is vitally important. I found that to be very, very effective. And then bright light as soon as you wake up. So, force yourself to wake up at that time. Don't skip your alarm. Don't let yourself be like, oh, just another 5 minutes. The worst thing you can do for what they call, sleep lag or sleep, forgot what it's called. Basically, if you really want to take care of depression, you want to wake up at the same time every day, turn on a bright light, and force yourself to get up and get out and to get moving. So, and keep yourself in a bright lighted environment for like the first hour if possible. If it's dark outside and you need to go exercise, then that's fine. As long as you get exercise, then you're going to boost cortisol, endorphins, and all sorts of things that wake you up, get your body moving, and they help to cure any kind of drowsiness you feel from being sleep deprived. And so that leads me to my next one: exercise immediately, first thing in the morning. So, you know, you can take 100 milligrams of caffeine if you want, or whatever it is. Coffee, sometimes it makes people want to just like, you know, sit down and for like 30 minutes rather than wake themselves up and exercise. So it's better if you just pop a caffeine pill or just skip it altogether. If you don't do caffeine, skip caffeine and just go straight outside and exercise, or do like 10 sets of 20 burpees or something like that. So if you exercise first thing in the morning, like that's vitally important for not only helping you regulate your sleep schedule, but also for setting the tone of the rest of the day. One of the main things that I found that regulates my mood and my energy is exercise. So I've always been an avid exerciser, except for certain periods in my life where my mental health was really bad. When I was younger, of course, long story, but you know, I went a whole decade where I just was on top of the world, and then I started crashing around the time when I started to buy into the overtraining nonsense. And so I started to like basically placebo myself into thinking that I was exercising too much. And what happened is I started to exercise too little for my own body constitution or whatever. And I started to find myself increasingly depressed more frequently. And so without fail, periods of time where I exercise consistently every day. And if you're just starting out, that means exercise as intensely as you can for 30 minutes at a time. Okay, so if you can only run for 10 minutes every day, then run for 10 minutes and then walk for the next 20 minutes. But try to make it 30 minutes or so, because the best science that I've seen, the best studies suggest 20 to 40 minutes a day is a sweet spot for cardiovascular activity and increasing brain-derived neurotropic factor for depression. And honestly, I hate bringing up like popular science experts, because I actually read studies, and I have been reading studies and textbooks for most of my information for the last 2 years. I kind of graduated from, you know, expert opinion to actually formulating my own opinions based on research and textbooks. But the fact is, if you really want the truth about what actually seems to be fueling depression and things, you should definitely just study the fundamental principles that Dr. Rhonda Patrick talks about, because her theories and opinions and notions really seem to actually work. Like, they seem to be the most, not just scientifically sound, because everyone can be scientifically sound, but the most practically accurate information comes from her. Sitting in saunas for 30 minutes at a time really seems to boost my mood, helps me recover, helps me stay limber, helps me just feel amazing and strong and healthy. And exercising for around 30 to 40 minutes a day, particularly aerobic exercise, really seems to help. Getting vitamin D and sunlight. So sunlight, what I found, is not only obviously does it boost your vitamin D level, but it seems that I feel that sun hit my skin, I feel like it's an instant massage. Like, I sort of feel like the sun's massaging my skin, and I feel a rush of endorphins from the sun exposure and the heat. Incidentally enough, direct skin exposure to the sun actually does boost endorphins, and heat shock proteins also help to boost endorphins, so it's a double whammy. Anyway, I've definitely found that intense exercise is an essential nutrient for me, because On my rest days, I feel like trash. And whenever I start to neglect aerobic activity, in particular aerobic activity lasting, being vigorous in nature for about 40 minutes a day seems to really help me feel better. And if I do it consistently, I notice like all my depression and all my other feelings of being overwhelmed and stuff completely goes away. I've noticed a direct link. That's probably the most significant thing ever. And through periods of time where I'm able to wake up at the same time every day on a consistent basis, I've noticed it seems to be life-changing as well. But I haven't been able to be consistent enough with that one compared to the exercise, so I can't really verify that entirely. Stretching is very important, not necessarily for mental depression, but for like a physical sense of feeling like crap. If you feel tightness and pain in your lower back and your hip flexors and things, usually from chronic sitting and chronically laying down and things, going out and exercising vigorously, going out and stretching vigorously, doing the main hamstring, hip flexor stretches and things for 60 to 90 seconds each, 3 sets of 60 seconds each should be sufficient. Doing that every single day is very important. And it's help you feel physically more healthy. But yeah, so the most important thing for your day is waking up on time every day, at the same time every day, and exercising vigorously for 20 to 40 minutes every day. And you see, even if I'm consistent with my powerlifting and my jiu-jitsu, I notice nothing. I notice even that doesn't really it doesn't give me nearly the boost in mental benefits as 20 to 40 minutes of aerobic activity every day. In particular, 40 minutes of aerobic activity followed by 30 minutes of sauna use is like a complete life changer. I can go from feeling completely overwhelmed and like shit to all of a sudden feeling like a whole new person. And that's actually something I'm getting ready to do after I'm done drinking my mate and go into the gym real quick. Identify areas of your life that are making you feel overwhelmed, and then make a plan to solve that problem, and then capitalize on it and execute. So most people who think they have a biological problem that's creating depression, or they think it's genetics, first of all, it is a genetic issue. It's you eating a diet that your genetics are not adapted to fully. You probably have nutrient deficiencies and things that literally do create deficits in these neurochemicals, and they create inflammation in the brain. And you also are lacking exercise that you're genetically adapted to. And so you're creating this stress, this low-grade stress that makes you feel like shit, because you're not doing all the things you're genetically adapted to do as a human being over millions of years. So if you get the exercise and the sleep and the proper nutrition taken care of, which we'll talk about the nutrition probably in another video, then obviously, yeah, it is a genetic thing. But the other thing is, the reason why people don't have success with medication, nutrition, and exercise is because they also don't take care of the mental and lifestyle aspect. So when I say lifestyle aspect, I'm talking about, you have financial problems that you just constantly try to avoid. You have relationship problems that have been prolonged and you just feel helpless to solve. And so what you need to do is really look at your problem in a realistic way. So in my case, if it's financial, you look at, I have this bill that's really like daunting on me, and like I really want, this internet subscription or something, but I can't. This $50 a month bill is the only thing that's setting me back, and then I have like a late fee that's like $50 or whatever, and it's just overwhelming and it's not worth it anymore. I'm just gonna remove that fucking bill. I'm gonna like make a plan to pay it off or whatever. And I'm just going to, if finances are what's constricting me, I'm going to stop spending money on things I don't need, like extra food and, supplements or whatever that you really don't need. You know, like I know people who they buy coffee every day from Starbucks instead of making it themselves. They'll buy pre-made pre-workout drinks before the gym. You know, and then instead of prepping their food, you know, from stuff they made themselves from the grocery store, it's so much cheaper. They'll eat out every day, and it's like, dude, you're spending like $50 a day on all that junk, and you have all these bills you need to pay. You know, and a lot of people use an excuse for why they can't eat healthy. It's like, oh, it's cost too much. Like, yeah, it's going to cost too much if you're eating out every day. But if you go to the store and cook food yourself and you make your own coffee every morning, you know, maybe buy caffeine packets that cost, you know, like $2 for a 10-day supply, you're going to save, you know, $20 to $30 every single day if you do that. But most people, their problem is not a lack of money or, you know, genetic depression. It's a lack of planning, a lack of strategy. And so, you know, make a plan to, you know, think about what areas of my life am I unsatisfied with. And you got to be brutally honest, because these are things that we try to run away from in our psyche. Try to ignore them, and then make a plan to solve that problem. Make a plan to solve that, you know, financial issue, relationship issue, whatever problem it is. You know, even if it's going to suck, just execute on it and really do your best. Make your best effort and execute on it. And that should help to negate a lot of stress, just the act of having a plan and making progress towards solving it. Because a lot of people, they feel depressed because they feel overwhelmed and they feel helpless to solve the problems they feel overwhelmed about. And so it's so overwhelming that it's just confusion that they just expect to be able to solve in a scatterbrained way. But when you're calculated about it, you formulate a plan, and then you start to see progress on that plan, it kind of relieves a lot of the feelings over, you know, just as it is. So beyond that, you know, those are the fundamentals that will solve problems. Like, all of your problems will go away. Some of the nutrition and things that I will talk about deeper in other videos are omega-3 fatty acids, in particular, getting about 2 grams of EPA per day, supplementing with vitamin D, regardless of the nonsense you hear about it being harmful. Fucking supplement vitamin D. Get your fucking levels tested, and if they're low, please supplement with vitamin D, because it will help. Okay, it is the norm for people with low vitamin D levels to feel like a new person once they megadose for a period of time. After about 4 weeks, they usually feel better. Try taking 1 gram of vitamin C a day, because a lot of people actually are low in vitamin C, and when they supplement vitamin C and vitamin D, they experience great benefits over time. I think vitamin B1 thiamine, about 200 milligrams of thiamine a day, in addition to a low-dose vitamin B complex, which would be about 100% of your daily intake per day taken with food. Because if you take too much B vitamins, what happens is you get an imbalance of methylation, an imbalance of other B vitamins, which can make you feel anxious. So a low dose is better, with a mega dose of B1, vitamin C, and vitamin D per day. EPA 2 grams per day, along with you know, DHA as well, but EPA is the one that is more associated with mood. Removing grains, but not necessarily going low carb. Eating a Primal Blueprint style diet, high fat, low carb. We're not in ketosis necessarily, because that's very complicated, but does tend to help people with depression and schizophrenia and other problems. Where you're eating about 150 grams of carbs a day on average from sweet potatoes, fruits, and vegetables. You know, and you're eating a lot of high quality animal protein and fats and things like olive oil and heavy cream and whatnot. I think that's a great diet. I probably felt the best ever eating that diet. Let's see. So then after you got all the basics that I just mentioned, reprogram your thinking. Reprogram the stories that you tell yourself about your reality by using cognitive reframe and affirmations. So, this is not a magical thinking thing. This is like, so you have the reality of your situation, which can be, I feel crappy all the time, right? Or better yet, your specific things you feel crappy about. Like, let's say my friends don't like me, right? A lot of people who have social anxiety, or they don't have the friendships that they'd like, they have these stories to tell themselves about the friendships. The reality is, well, I'm not satisfied with my friendships. But you might tell yourself things and associate them with this problem by saying things like, people don't like me, I'm not the type of person that makes friends easy, there's something wrong with me and that's why people don't like me, I hate people are shit. These are common things people say that usually hold them back from ever, fixing the problem. And so what you got to do is, what is the actual problem? I don't have the friendships that I want, that I'd like. I want, my friendship, my social life sucks, basically. And then instead of telling yourself defeating, disempowering things that are just your own assumptions and opinions rather than the actual facts of reality, you need to start to tell yourself things like, I'm not happy with my social life, but I will gain better friendships over time. This is something I can work on, and then of course in this scenario, become more happy, build a life that you feel happy about, engage in hobbies that you feel happy about, and work on your self-esteem by making progress in your life, and then reinforce this progress by using affirmations and things. Now, this is not something I've been able to use consistently lately because I've been so focused on my reality rather than what I tell myself about. But I constantly have been trying to use affirmations, but I guess I don't have as much faith in them now as I used to. But I know that they do work. It's just a habit you have to develop. And there's apps out there that you can use where you repeat affirmations every day before you go to bed and when you wake up. And it also allows you to repeat your goals before you go to bed and when you wake up. And it's based on the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I was using that for about a month and it really was starting to show up in my reality, the things I was repeating myself. But then I stopped using it just because I don't know. I guess I just need to do it to see the results, to have faith in it. But I can tell you back in late 2014, all the way till mid 2015, when I was using affirmations on a regular basis, tapping into the spiritual realm of reality, it was actually really helping me, and I felt the most comfortable, secure, and confident I've ever felt in my life. And so I do recommend studying Law of Attraction, Esther Hicks, and affirmations, because this can really help. At the very least, you're not going to manifest an elephant, but you're going to feel way, way better, and it's going to put you into a emotional and mental state in which it's more conducive to creating self-fulfilling prophecies, which are a fact of psychology, and more so it's going to make you feel better. So there's really no reason why you shouldn't use affirmations. They don't cost anything. They're not going to cause harm unless you're using them wrong, so you should use them. Now, other thing is remove all supplements that you're taking for a whole month, because a lot of people are actually taking supplements that are creating the very problems you're trying to remove. Like, so for example, people will take psyllium husk or these cleansing herbs or lots of fiber to try to relieve constipation. A lot of times this constipation is created from all the bulk in their stool that happens from taking psyllium husk and these other things. And so it's better to remove fiber supplements and focus on whole foods, in particular the Primal Blueprint, like I mentioned. Or like a better example in terms of depression is ashwagandha, rhodiola, even things like 5-HTP. And after a while, maybe even mucuna. You're taking these herbs that are supposed to be boosting your mood. Little do you know, a lot of them actually can have the negative side effect of actually causing depression. And things like maca as well can cause anxiety and stress. So after a while, you should probably remove these things, for about 4 weeks. Just remove all psychoactive herbs and things, even things like chamomile and whatnot, and just focus entirely on good nutrition. Instead of spending money on these herbs to make you feel better, spend more money on basic nutrition, and take vitamin C and vitamin D and these other things I mentioned. Maybe skip the B vitamins, and you'll probably notice, if you got all the basics on track, after about, I would say 10 days, but after about 2 to 4 weeks, after 4 weeks, you should notice a benefit. And then remove self-destructive habits like pornography, remove habits like, excessive YouTube watching, social media watching, waking up in the morning and instead of getting up and doing some exercise and whatnot, you play video games or you read books that you're telling are good for you. But you need to build momentum in your morning and build momentum towards the goals you want and build momentum towards happiness. Every aspect you can is about building momentum and building little bits of goodness at a time, and eventually you will notice that momentum snowballs, and then you have just like a holistically awesome experience. So this is how I've found to crawl out of depression. In particular, the most important things are removing self-destructive habits, waking up at the same time every day, and going out and getting exercise every day. After exercise, it's a lot easier for me to implement all these other habits because I'm thinking more clearly. And I've noticed my exercise routine seems to be the main thing, because I lift mostly for performance. Like if I go to the gym and I hit a new 5 rep max on my squat, then I can go home because my job is done. But I have had to go back to when I first started working out and understand that, while my jiu-jitsu and powerlifting career relies upon, just hitting a 5 rep max on deadlift, I have to come to the realization that hitting a 5 rep max on deadlift is not going to make me feel better. It doesn't produce the same endorphin response and neurochemical response that relieves depression and makes my brain work better that running for 40 minutes and then hitting the sauna for 30 minutes will make me feel. And so I've had to change my paradigm, and I'm still doing that. As of today, I'm going to start this new routine. So, yeah. In fact, I might start a new video series where that's the new video series. So leave your question and comments down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to y'all next time.